Yeah, 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 yeah,
We're
yeah,
not.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Stop,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Doc.
yeah, 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 yeah. Okay.
Stop.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah.
Fucking-
What's up?
Good evening, day, morning, afternoon.
What's going on, YouTube?
What's going on, man? Listen.
It's your boy. Hi. How are you?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Yep.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, this is episode 8, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, okay, okay.
Yeah.
So, episode 8 comes out December 7th.
I'm currently house hunting.
You're currently house hunting. Okay. Uh, so just a quick second. When is your shit going to arrive?
It
My
is.
God,
It is. It is
it is
very
taking
likely.
forever.
You and me both. Uh, it is very likely that our stuff will not arrive until middle to end of January. Yep.
What?
Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
Okay.
So, because I mean, you got to remember, we're going that far away from the East Coast, so it has to travel continental
Okay.
first.
I
Then
get
it has to
distance, but
travel. Do you though? But
it's I, like okay,
let me
right?
find a
Okay.
map. I got a ruler and a map somewhere.
I'm not thinking islands float. Let's start off there. So that's an ass. That's a lot of space in that. We should get you skinny shorts.
I don't have a map readily available.
Okay.
I have a pair of
Well,
skinny pants, and I need a little bit of breathing room.
I mean, do you though?
It's the hair. It gets matted down, and it's just not.
Ew, bro, what? Contain the beast, right? Like,
Yeah. Shave it off.
I'm
Anyway,
just like maybe a little bit. Anyway, this episode is brought to you in part by. No, just kidding. Am I?
rage shit.
Am I? So, last few episodes we've been talking about TV a lot,
Yep.
and
It's a natural progression medium, I think, for video games, at least probably over the past 15, 20 years.
yeah, but it so. Saw this article talking about Gears of War.
Hmm.
I never played the game campaign. At least I played a little bit of the PvP,
Mm-hmm.
like at a USO or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I get that it's an enthralling, capturing story. I get it. I get that, and I mean, obviously, it was very mid to late 2000s and early 2010s.
Yeah.
But it's what I'm interested in is this is gonna sound like fucking hipster like. There really isn't a lot of original content anymore.
So, I mean,
And
that is kind of hipster. It's a little hipster.
it's like I'm not mad at it.
Right.
It's just like that would be truly hipster. Um, but it's one of those of like, okay, we're making something based on something else. Okay, I mean, Simpsons did it. Most stories have already been told. So then,
The argument is that they've all been told. There is no more original
right.
story. It's really in presentation now.
Mm-hmm. So what I want to do here is defend that we're doing video games because if done right, it could yield such a freaking kind of like what's the cyberpunk one?
Edge runners.
Edge runners. So like
That's a
when
unique
done
one. That's a unique one. I'm not entirely sure that should be considered in the overall thought process.
okay.
Mainly because anime is like prime for cyberpunk genre storytelling.
Okay, well, I mean,
Like those two go hand in hand. It's
I got that part, but Halo is prime for fucking VFX screen, you know? And look how it turned out. So
that I
everything
think
has to line up. Everything has to
yes.
line up in such a way that it's the writing, VFX, the whole ensemble
Yeah.
has to be well done for it to land right. Um, but I think I'm happy that they're doing it, right? Because we've seen the thing is that people are pissed off that this is now a thing, and like I hate fucking I love them for their movies, but like Martin Scorsese, Quentin Tarantino, shut the fuck up
Yeah.
about fucking
Marvel
movies and comic books
specifically.
and superheroes. You know what?
Let people have their
Your
fun.
stories, it's the same as us complaining about Amaranth,
Mm-hmm.
where it's not your fucking audience, slash if it is, you're not competing against each other.
Nope.
Like literally they tell us months in advance what their release dates are going to be. Tell your studios to don't release your movie around the date that theirs is coming out.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. Like I'll go watch your movie,
Mm-hmm.
but also go
You're
watch
you're
the Marvel movie.
you're especially those directors. A lot of their movies are pushed out because they're the directors. So there's a lot of press coverage
Yeah.
because it's them directing. There's a lot of appeal
Yeah.
for it because it's them directing. So to like numbers wise, I'm sure if a release date is too close, just like with video games, if a release
Yeah.
date is too close, it really doesn't matter who developed the game or who directed the movie. One is going to be
Yeah.
slightly higher than the other. That's just the nature of this entire industry. Okay, one's going to
Yeah.
overshadow the other at least a little bit. When it comes to
Well,
the video game stuff, you got to remember I'm a little more hesitant on transitioning a video game to the television medium,
so
despite saying it's a natural progression.
so hold on a sec.
Mm.
So I yeah, this is gonna be a hot take. I think it's just boomer talk and fucking Xer talk, because we had zero fucking problems with movies that were based on books. Stephen King's fucking movies, he didn't write movies. He wrote fucking books. And most of his movie books or book movie however,
Mm.
the movies that are based on books, they are so well done, and it's because he helped and he was
Have
part of the creation
have you
process.
watched Have you watched Langoliers?
No.
Mm.
Okay. Okay, I'll say
One. Okay.
maybe
One.
okay.
No, it's
So, no, but like
you're right. You're right.
Misery, right?
Hmm.
Like
Yeah.
Misery, fucking Pet Cemetery, like there's so many fucking good ones
Hmm.
that are immediately or um what's the other one? Doctor Sleep?
Doctor Sleep is
Uh
one.
and based on what was that?
You know I'm terrible with names.
The
The
Shining?
Shining. Yeah.
No.
Yeah. 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 Yeah,
Okay.
Kubrick.
So
Yeah.
like so like
There. So yes. Okay. Good point. But
so
y-
now translated to our generation, we have video games.
it's a little
And
different. It's a little different, right? So old school old school shifting from poetry to music, right? There's there's
okay.
there's a natural progression there. A lot of music is based on poetry, on prose,
Yep.
on the way
Yep.
poetry is done, right? From book to movie, it's a lot smoother transition than you think. Now, granted, there's work involved from turning a book into a screenplay, right? Okay, fine. But the setting is already there, camera direction is already there. It takes somebody knowing the story and knowing how to write a screenplay to transition from a book to screenplay. But the setup, the premise, everything is already there. The issue with video game to any other medium is that you can't tell the same story because that story was player driven. Even if there were barely any options, any direction held by the
So
player,
you're
that's
talking
their
about
story.
the interaction portion.
Yes. That's
So
why
I
video games are so collectively attractive, is that there's a
okay,
direct impact from the user, from the
so
player.
I'm gonna flip it on its head.
Okay.
Video games based on movies. GoldenEye. Let's start off there, right?
Yeah.
So loosely based on the book series
Mhm.
by A. Broccoli, and then frickin' made it into a movie series, and then we get GoldenEye, the the player playing the N64 GoldenEye. It is and I'm this is the hill that I'm gonna die on today,
Okay.
because it is a lack of imagination from previous generations that either forgot it because, "Oh, back in my day, I used to play with a stick." Bitch, where the fuck is your imagination of that stick? To then, based on your argument of the interaction, they're missing that interaction. If it was GoldenEye movie, as a kid watching the movie, it was like, "Fuck yeah, I'm James Bond. I'm doing this." And then you literally get to do it.
See,
So it
that's
is
one transition. Now you're
so
talking about
hold on.
reversing that.
Now we reverse it. That same imagination, I still have that where I watch any television or cinematic content, and I don't think like, it would be good if this was a video game. I would like to compute this, right? But it is a, oh, that's cool. I wonder how that would play out going from movie to video game. If it's video game to movie, especially now that that I stream and I watch streams so much, everybody plays in a
Mhm.
unique way, right? So whether it's the chat selection, the response selection for interaction with a character, or just you went left and I went right around a bush to go talk to a NPC, that
You're
part
leading
is
yourself to
still.
the only way that this works properly. Continue, but
What do you mean?
you're going the direction that I argue,
Okay.
where it's,
So
yeah, continue, but you're heading there.
to me, a movie or a series or movie that's based on a video game is just somebody's playthrough of that story.
Okay.
And it's not specifically mine, but it is, okay, I can appreciate you playing God of War way differently than I would. Um, it's the same overarching story, but it's told differently because it's you and I are different people. Um, and that I appreciate. Now, the story itself, that's where people that I don't know if that's what people hang on to. That would be more people that actually played beyond fucking Frogger. Um, and where there's actually story that was made into, like, injected into the video game itself. I don't I don't know. Anyway, moving on. What's your take on that?
So is okay. I'm going to ask you this. The Last of Us, right?
Yep.
We talked about this before. They've got 9 episodes. Is there How much player choice really is there in the game?
I mean, even when it's linear, I'm talking about like micro choices, like going.
Right. No, it's, yeah. So how much does the player impact the story, or is it more the player interacting with the environment and hearing all the side stories and stuff like that while continuing on a linear storytelling device?
Oh, I think it's both. It
Okay.
just depends on on the game. There
So
are some truly free world, do whatever the fuck you want games, whereas
right, but
others,
as far as Last of Us,
yeah, okay,
the the
Last of Us,
okay, so the reason why I'm asking this is it seems like from the outside looking in, because I haven't played the games. So from the
okay,
outside looking in, it seems like a game like The Last of Us is prime for showing the overarching storyline that regardless of the
Yep.
player's choices, these are the plot points they have to go through. So
Yeah.
let's turn that into a different medium to attract viewership outside of the video game. Because you got to remember,
Yeah.
like who's producing it, right? You're gonna
Right.
attract the Game of Thrones watchers. You're gonna attract the Westworld watchers. It's not just for the video game players; it's for everybody. But that's a really easy transition. I'm 100% on board for that. Absolutely. And as far as Gears of War is concerned, roughly the same thing, right? There's story beats the player has to go through.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's options. Sure, there's different ways you can do things. Absolutely. But at the end of the day, the main story beats, those could be fleshed out a little bit in crazy good looking medium and broadcasted to people that aren't just a fan of the game. But then you look at a game like Fallout and you look at the fact that they are producing a Fallout television show.
Yep.
That's a different
And
story.
it's so
And this
what
actually goes to what I was saying that you were actually directing yourself towards is if
so
they tell their own story,
exactly,
if they
right?
tell their own story, not one that we're used
Yeah.
to. Like I don't need the Christ complex Fallout 4
Yeah.
character. I don't need the one from 13. I don't need any of you know what I mean? Like I don't need those guys. That was
Yeah.
me. That was me.
So
I want to know how
I'll,
a
I'll
particular
tell you
Raiders group comes in.
I got excited because it's supposed to be a vault in Cali, right?
Hmm.
So I think that's what they're gonna do. They're gonna do one of the vaults in California. I don't know if it was a VIP vault or if it was I can't remember, but geographically it's West Coast. Um,
There's a lot they can do with this, depending on the
and
vault.
there is no video game for it. There's no DLC, there's no it's just it's
The
mentioned in the
closest
video games.
closest we got was
Uh
New Vegas for West Coast.
right. Yep. We know
Let me make
it's
sure I'm
been
not a liar.
mentioned
Continue.
in yeah, it's mentioned in the lore basically. I don't know if it was like an email or what the fuck it was. Um, but it was in there. Um, and they get to tell their own story. Guess what?
New
And this is
California.
New California. Yep.
There has been West Coast. The original Fallout. New California was the primary setting of the original Fallout. Fallout 2 kind of continued. Fallout 3 went to the other coast. Anchorage went to Alaska. Pittsburgh, Point Lookout, Maryland, then space, then New Vegas, the Mojave Desert,
Wait, what the fuck? Which one was in space?
Mothership Zeta, DLC for 3.
Damn.
The Mojave for New
Yep.
Vegas and Vegas. New Vegas DLC had you in Zion. And then Boston. Far Harbor, what was that? Largely set on the island.
Oh, that was
Mount Desert Island off the
4.
coast of Maine. Yeah, that was Fallout
That was
4.
4. Yeah.
And Nuka World, which I don't, it's within the city of Boston, so we're still in Boston. And then Fallout 76, Appalachia, West Virginia. So
Mm.
there's been one, arguably two games set directly on the West Coast,
Nearby.
and
Yeah.
then one nearby with New Vegas, and then everything else has
Yep.
been mid to East Coast. So it's not like it's brand new territory, right?
At least the vault is.
Yeah,
The vault itself because we don't know what this vault will be, what the hell the story is about the vault, right?
right.
Um
Very little
like
information has come out about the show.
we we know that each vault was its own biological and psychological experiment of some sorts.
Hmm.
Um so we don't know and they could, you know, maybe that's the progression. So what you're getting at of it being
It needs to be its own story.
its own story.
Yep.
I appreciate Rings of Power so much because it is a story where some of the details are off,
Mm.
right? But it is a story unto itself where there is no there are some things that your reaction would be something like oh, that never happened. Well, no, we just don't know if it did or didn't.
We're watching
It
it happen right now.
We're literally watching it happen right now.
How do you
What are
know
you
it
talking
didn't
about?
happen? It's happening right now.
Right.
You just showed you happening.
So,
I'm the reason why I'm always apprehensive about this conversion from video game media to television or movie, right?
yeah,
Is every single time this happens, with very few exceptions, every single time this happens, there's too much catering. There isn't. It's not a standalone story, right? That's why the Halo books did so well, because yes,
what do you mean?
there's books about the Master Chief, right, telling the story
Yeah,
between games, or there's
yep.
books about the gunnery sergeant
Well,
telling
even
what happened before Reach.
the novelization
Hmm.
of some of the stories, like Reach itself. Oh my
Yes,
god.
that was a good book. I still have it,
Oh
and
my
I've read it.
god.
It's The Fall of Reach is a great book, but that's a much better medium, because you can describe and capture nuances that a player isn't going to catch because of the limitations of
Right.
technology, right?
Well, and also because they could have probably jumped without doing that mission, right?
There's
So,
you can get inside a character's head that you can't do in a video game. There's all kinds of stuff
right.
you can do going to other
So,
mediums, but visually representing what was already visually represented, and then on top of that already controlled as well, that's much harder to do.
so that is why, like, my original argument of it's just somebody else's playthrough. Like, it's
Yeah,
just,
yeah. But I want somebody
if they
else's playthrough of the
change,
game I didn't play, if that makes sense.
yeah.
So like the Fallout thing,
Oh,
I'm excited for it.
yeah,
I'm excited for it because
but you
I know
never played it.
I never played it, but I know I'm
Right.
going to recognize some things. I know what the vaults look like.
Yeah.
I know what
Yeah.
certain. I know they're going to pay homage to a lot of the different armors, right? So you're
Yep.
going to see a vault suit. Hopefully, you'll see a vault suit upgraded with a leather pauldron and some leather chaps or whatever, right? You're going to see an upgraded vault whatever uniform that's been uh, uh, stuff added onto it. There's going to be a lot of visual nostalgia, but I'm going to need. I don't care if they reference somebody they heard about, like some Vault 13 guy they heard about wherever.
Hmm.
That's fine. If they want to go a completely different set of years where Vault 13 hasn't happened yet, or
So
you know,
that's the other thing, right? Because and I'll tell you this, when I played, um, what the fuck did I play? When I played New Vegas, I
mhm.
didn't play one. When I played New Vegas, and what was it? PS2, PS3, PS2, right?
PS3. I think it was
Three.
three. I think it was three.
Okay.
Yeah. I think yeah.
It was like, what the fuck? What is this? I didn't get it. I just didn't get it. Then I played three,
Mhm.
still didn't get it.
Mhm.
Still didn't get it. I don't think I even made it out of the vault before I actually like took it back the next day to GameStop, and I was like, "What the
That's
fuck is this?"
that's a shame. Okay.
Then Fallout 4 came about.
That was a lot of people's
And
intro to the Fallout franchise, believe it or not, just because of how
yeah.
smoother the mechanics were.
Mhm.
It's They tapped into a lot of the COD Battlefield players with how well
Yep.
the shooting
Hello.
how well the shooting
Yeah.
mechanics are. Yeah, it's there's a lot of Fallout fans that would hate me for saying this. Not this part. My favorite one is New Vegas. Okay.
Okay.
I have played a little
Is
bit
that
of
a hot
one.
take?
No, it's not. I've played a
Okay.
little bit of one. I played a little bit of two. I can respect them. I enjoy the story. I'm not a fan of that system, the engine that they used for it. Okay,
Yeah.
because it's a lot of D&D rules, right? Um, but three, New Vegas, all the DLC expansions attached to them, and 4, it's very clear the extra players they're trying to pull into the franchise.
Hmm.
Because Fallout 3 with mods actually had this first, but Fallout 4 had the building system integrated in. That was my bread and butter for the longest time. I went to the drive up movie theater
Hmm.
in Fallout 4. That was always my main base that I would build
That
on.
was your main
That was
base?
my main
Okay.
base. It was
Just
beautifully
the wide
played.
openness you
Just
like?
loved it. I could make
Yeah.
my own. There was a water source in the center, so I had like a town center there that I could build off of. It was cool. But that combined with the gameplay, this is kind of the hot take. Fallout 4, arguably,
Hmm.
is a great Fallout game because
Yeah.
it took the things from 3 and New Vegas
Yeah.
as far as mechanics wise, made them objectively better. Some would argue that it concentrated too much on gunplay, forgetting how
So
absolutely bad gunplay was in the rest of the
completely,
games.
completely different direction from you. The serial restarter.
Mm-hmm.
I have never finished Fallout 4.
I have finished it once.
And it was because I I kept up with what the story was
Mm-hmm.
and the decision and like everything that goes into how you finish it. And I was like, you know what? Now that I know the ending, I'm literally gonna do every side quest ever
Mm-hmm.
and just keep doing side quests as I progress.
Mm-hmm.
And I got to a point where like literally I haven't logged in years, but last time that I was playing, I was literally rotating um saving my compounds,
Yep.
and I would just go collect more materials, come back, rebuild, and then like give them a little bit of extra security and be like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
take care of yourselves.
So
I'll
that
see
you
you
can
guys
take
later.
care of the other guys that are here.
You take care of yourselves. Yeah. Um, and it got to the point that I was getting so many mats that rather than like there was one near the water, um, that was basically like a U-boat, um, like
Mm-hmm.
a docking.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know which one I'm
I
talking
think I
about?
do. Yeah, yeah.
So it is very hardened cement, but it is wide open to the elements. so so there is no like barricade yourselves and you'll be fine. It's a oh shit, we can stand behind this wall and shoot over it, but the AI is dumb, so they don't.
Yeah.
Um but for me, if I happen to be there and happen to be the one saving them, then I would do that. So I got so many mats that I upgraded their turrets from like Gatling gun to just fucking rocket launchers. Like
Yep.
every single one was rocket launchers because for some reason trolls kept coming in. And I was like, all right, well,
Talking
here,
about the
here.
the big green guys.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's the that would be a terrible story. That would be a
What are you
terrible
talking about?
story. Okay.
If
You
we were to
you
say that,
so you getting to that point in your game, right?
yeah.
The way that you got to that point, that might be a good story, but there's no way
Hmm.
to end that story. So let's say we would take that, and this is kind of a counterpoint to your, another playthrough is what, the television version of these games would be, like watching
Hmm.
another playthrough. So let's take your playthrough and let's jump through
Oh
hoops,
yeah,
turn
no,
it
that
into a
would be
screenplay.
absolute
It
garbo.
would be a terrible story, but here's the problem. Every single player's playthrough of that game would be a terrible story
Mm,
because there are so many different options. There's so many different ways to go about things that all still lead to the same end result. You either side with the institute, you side with the Minutemen,
Brotherhood,
or the
the
Brotherhood,
Minutemen.
or
Yep.
the Underground. Okay.
Yep.
The game does take into account a couple of things, but for the most part, you have to pick one of them, all right, for an actual ending to the story. And he's gone. Jump cut. Technical difficulties. Whoa. 3, 2, 1. Where were we at? Fuck.
So anybody's gameplay or playthrough would suck
Right.
unless you did it a certain way.
Right. Okay. So 3, 2, 1. Basically, everybody's going to do things a little differently. They're going to complete a quest, either all silenced, balls out, whatever. But at the end of the day, that quest, one of only a couple of options are going to be picked. And that quest, that plot point, and that storyline is going to be stationary, and you'll move on from there. So the point that I'm getting at is everybody has seen and heard literally every version of that story, either watching it through a YouTube video, in a Let's Play,
Mm.
playing it themselves, seeing it through previews, or watching a stream. They've seen every variation that story can be. So trying to move that video game into a visual medium where you are locked, where you don't get the option to make a choice at all. You have to watch the characters on screen make a choice you've seen 1,000 times. It's not going to do well. It just isn't. So what I'm hoping, especially for Gears of War, that's a pretty linear storyline.
Yeah.
So either they tell a story between games, or they tell the story of how things got to where they were when the first game booted up and you started playing, or they tell the aftermath of all the games, or they need to pick something that a player has not seen or had full control of, or it's not gonna do well because of the type of game it is,
Mm.
because of how, like, the player goes through all of the action scenes themselves. There
Well, I
really is
mean,
only
it
one
would
or
end
two
up
ways to do it.
being like the easiest way would just be to show like the main quest and then show a couple of like, I'm gonna plant a tomato, like,
Yeah.
and ta-da, check mark, side quest, got it. Hey, why don't you go plant some tomatoes and I'll give you some armor for the wasteland. I'm like, oh, okay, got it. Yep.
The story itself, like, it needs to be standalone, and it
Yeah.
also needs to fit in the world that you're building off of, because you got to remember, you're pulling the strings of the players, of the people involved in the lore, and you're trying to pull viewers from those that don't play the games. So
Yeah.
you need to make something that's attractive to the people that don't play the games, but still appreciates the IP enough that the people that do play the games also watch it. And
Yep.
very few adaptations do that properly.
Mm-hmm.
Arguably, even with Stephen King's books, like the example you gave before,
Yeah.
there's a couple of movies that he didn't want anything to do with because the adaptation wasn't done to his liking.
Right.
There's shifts from the story to the screenplay version. There's plot
Yep.
points taken out or twisted around. Kubrick
So
is a good
it's funny
example.
that you mentioned just the pulling out. So I'm gonna weave in the other article that I sent you. So Stallone it
Yep.
pulled out of Creed 3,
Mm-hmm.
right? And it was because Michael B. Jordan was taken. They were going to give him direction for Creed 3, and he was just like, Stallone was like, I don't think that character would do that, and it was just creative differences, and he pulled out, right? And that to me is like, yeah, yeah, everybody has a different take on it. Like, yeah, freaking George Lucas hates what Dave Filoni did with Clone Wars. And oh no, let me dry my tears with my money, right?
Yeah.
Like shut up, bro. Like, obviously it's not like you're not taking the money. Ha ha ha.
Mm-hmm. And arguably
So
the fans correct me if I'm
yeah,
wrong, the fans like what he did
yeah,
with Clone Wars.
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
ultimately
Now,
you can have creative differences, but if your fans
yeah,
are enjoying
yep,
it and they're
yep,
ingesting your content, what does it matter?
yep. So
Write that story.
by the way,
Hmm.
um, the $1.9 billion lotto,
Mm-hmm.
um, that's more than what Lucas sold Star Wars to Disney for. What?
How much do you
Anyway,
actually get out of that if you won?
if you
If you
took
got
the lump sum,
yeah,
I've read like 920, 950, somewhere around there. So that's way less than the
still
1.8 or 1
still
1.6, 1.8 that he sold
you
the
stash that away
franchise for.
properly, live off
The dividends, yeah.
yeah.
Yep, yep, yep.
It's interesting seeing this actually is a really good transition over to the Creed article because
Yeah,
that's the worry, right? With these adaptations of something that's already beloved
yeah.
or infamous, whatever, right?
Well,
And you're moving it to an entirely different medium, something is going to change. It has to.
yeah.
The storytelling mechanic in one does not translate to another. So you've got to find a different way to tell that story.
So you can, like, okay, Filoni did it a few ways where it's like, I'm going to tell you a different story, but I'm going to give you so much nostalgia bombs for whatever, nostalgia bombs, nostalgia bombs for fucking everything, that you're like,
Jaeger bombs.
yeah, this guy gets it. He's one of us.
Mm,
Which I mean, he arguably is, but that's why a lot of people they liked Andor, the latest Star Wars series, more than like Mandalorian or Kenobi, because there's so many fucking callbacks, and it's almost like an MCU, right?
hmm
That like that's one of the reasons why people hate the MCU. Are you telling me I have to watch all 57 movies to get it? So, like,
Do I?
I mean, you know, um,
We're not touching
you know,
that. Okay. All right, that's fair.
yeah. Uh, Whereas Andor, it's its own story. Like, we know that he's in Rogue One. We know that he had a backstory to make him the hero that he was. Um, but there's Easter eggs, but it's almost references and not Easter eggs.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you're not gonna see R2D2 in the background and like, yay, I like
You
R2.
mean you won't get two full episodes of a character that has nothing to do with your show and is from a different show, but you need to carry this one show, so you'll
Yeah.
have two full episodes in a completely unrelated show of a different
Yes.
character building a
Yes.
car.
Yes.
Book of Boba Fett is what I was getting at there for anybody listening that needed clarification.
You mean Mandalorian 2.5? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
tell me the
But you
story.
only get half a season. Yeah.
Tell me
That's
the
it.
story of Boba Fett after the Sarlacc pit, not Boba Fett and Co. That's not a story. That is a docu series, a 2 to 3 episode docu series on HBO
Well, there
of
were 6 episodes before Mando came back.
how many after?
4.
Hmm. And
So
how many episodes were centered around Mandalorian?
2.
That's a lot for 10
I mean,
episodes.
20%, yeah.
That's a lot when your show is
Well, I
called The
mean,
Book of Boba Fett.
it was more of a he came in to, help,
Oh,
um,
I can appreciate a good crossover
which
for
I
sure.
got it, yeah,
Yeah.
and that's what they were going for. It did not come across that way. So, um,
The ultimate point, and this it's the same point that can be made about Creed 3, is and we've actually talked about this with Star Trek. We've talked about it with Stargate. We've talked about it with all
yeah,
these shows that we like, or that we liked the 1995 version, and oh, the 2020 to the 2022 version is just not the same show. Blah blah blah. I fucking
yeah,
certainly hope not. It's been
yeah,
how many years?
yeah, it needs
Let's
to,
tell a different story. It could.
which, you know what? There is a huge difference to, like, I love Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings trilogy.
Mhm.
I fucking have watched I think I've watched Fellowship about at least 30 times.
I only need to see the "You Kneel to No One" scene, and I cry like I have just watched every one of the movies all together
Yeah,
in one
yeah,
sitting,
yeah,
because
yeah, 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 yeah.
all three movies start going on in my
Just
head, and all the things they went through.
yeah.
"You Kneel to No One," and I'm like, no, you fucking don't.
Yeah.
No, you don't. You stand tall, you short hobbits. You
I'm so proud of you.
like they're children. They're grown ass
Y
adults.
they're
Like they're
grown. Frodo was 50, 53 by the time he got back, so, yeah, he was a grown-ass man. Um, so I love Lord of the Rings,
Mm,
but you know what?
mm.
Rings of Power, the armor, all the shit that all the practical effects that go into the show are so fantastic. Mind you, I will not forget that literally
Literally.
would not have happened if it wasn't for Peter Jackson's trilogy.
Mm,
I'm talking about practical shit, like the what a workshop that created most of like the armor pieces and the special effects, practical visual effects. They literally created a method to make plastic chainmail. Now we know it as 3D printing. Obviously, 3D printing did not come from, Lord of the Rings, but they made a 3D printer to print filament that would loop the fucking the
okay.
rings together, right? The visual on the actual visual effects, um
So literal bar setting for a
they yeah,
future.
they created do you remember Hiro Nakamura from Heroes?
Mm-hmm.
Save the cheerleader, save the
Mm-hmm.
world.
Yeah,
He
the time traveler.
Yep,
Yeah,
yep. He was before he started acting, he was a VFX artist that worked
I
for
didn't
Weta.
I didn't know that.
He created the program for the Balrog fire.
It's impressive.
Yeah.
that is that is very
So
impressive.
CGI fire w- leaps and bounds over everything. Usually it was filmed in like a green screen or blue screen, and then they would transpose that
Mm-hmm.
onto an exploding car or whatever. No, he created the code to give it its wispiness and all that shit. He created it. The entire world right now, visual effects would not be anywhere it is now had it not been for his contribution. However, because we took those contributions to what they are now in the future with everybody else's contributions piled on, it's so much visually stunning than first time watching Pelennor Fields and Oliphants are fucking coming out of nowhere. And to me, that's the scene that gets me, by the way.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Actually it's uh Theoden's Ride Now, Ride for Ruin. Oh my god. Oh my god. The world's ending.
You
Okay.
it's a good
Yeah.
point. Those are good. That is a good series of events of getting shit done to transition or to tell to sorry to be used for future storytelling. But
Yeah.
there's a lot of people stuck in late '90s, early aughts that are that's not my Star Trek, that's not my Stargate,
Yeah.
that's not my Lord of the Rings.
Yep.
Tolkien would be rolling in his grave. Tolkien started rolling in his grave the moment
Yeah.
everybody didn't take his works as a European like god pantheon, because that was the intent of those stories was to
Yep.
create a pantheon for Europeans, because
Well, it
that was part of it at
and
least.
and just the fact that no one seems to pick up on the fact that it was his fucking writing therapy for his PTSD.
Mm-hmm.
Like, bro, he is Frodo coming back,
Mm-hmm.
and behold, Britain is industrialized after the Great War. What the fuck?
How do you handle this? Yeah.
Yeah, you're
It
back in the real world, and guess what? He chose to go to Valinor. Ha ha ha. He wished that he would have offed himself, but now he's stuck telling the Hobbit story to fucking Christopher because he's a little shit that won't shut the fuck up and go to bed. That's how the Hobbit came about, in case you didn't know.
I didn't, but now I do, and so
Yeah,
does everybody else. Uh,
everybody else.
at
Yeah,
the end of the day, it's a story set in a world that is so deeply described
yeah,
that if he didn't see branching stories, he would have thought it went to waste. Because
yeah,
that's the majority of writers. They want something to come from the worlds they spend years creating,
yeah.
not just what they come
Well,
like.
the he kept telling stories to Christopher, to his son,
Mhm.
which led to the children of Hurin or Urin, and the completion of the Silmarillion, because he died before they were published. All those stories, the reason why the Silmarillion reads like a fucking old man's fucking diary, because it
Because it
is.
is, yeah.
Most of it was Christopher just transcribing everything, and then he would go back to the notes and say, how do we tell Bethel and Lurien a little better? Yep. So it's a mirror image of Aragorn and Aragorn. So let's do this, this, this. Got it.
Hmm.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
finished it. Um. So
The ability to transpose original works, right? To tie it back,
mm,
The original Rocky movies. Stallone is probably right. Like, of all the people to make a statement like that and have it be accurate, he's probably right. But at the end of the day,
and
it's no longer his story.
he's an Academy Award winner for Rocky. So
Yeah. So
and
he
it
would
wasn't
know.
for acting. So
It's so he would know, but like at the end of the day, it's no longer about Rocky Balboa. Now you have to carry on a legacy, right? But you have to make your own so that future stories can now be told about Creed instead of Rocky.
yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's the same concept with because we in the past we've brought up Stargate. It's the same concept. You can tell a story, a continuated story from first debuting 20 plus years ago. You can tell that story today without diving so hard into the past that I may as well go watch Stargate SG-1 all over again.
Right.
Like, there needs to be the ability to move the hell
Well,
on, and a lot of people don't let that happen, and
yeah.
that's why a lot of this shit doesn't work, because that, and
Well,
then like with video games
so
it's hard to transfer. But
I had a discussion with a Gen Xer that missed um missed the original Star Wars trilogy when they came out,
mhm,
right? But he watched them as a kid,
mhm,
and then he was almost I think he was in college by the time that the new trilogy, or no, he was in high school and then college as
1, 2, and 3
as
came out.
the 1, 2, 3 came out, and now with 7, 8, 9, we were having a discussion, and he immediately shot down well, it wasn't made for you. And it was like, bro, when did you watch the movies? Oh, you watched them as a 7, 8 year old?
It wasn't meant for you.
Okay.
Yeah.
You watched them then, and the first one was just a fucking space opera that was just like, "Da-da, ba-ba-da," like it's its own thing. And then, well, let me tell you the rest of the story. And then 1, 2, 3 was, so many people hated on 1, 2, 3, shit themselves over the double bladed Darth Maul lightsaber. What? That's the one and only cool thing, bro. Yet I watched episode 1 as a fucking kid, and I lost my shit in the coolest of ways. That's who it was meant for.
Mm-hmm.
And his argument of, well, there's a responsibility to um try to maintain some appreciation for the original fan base. They're the ones that, because of their viewership, they're the ones that led to the creation of the next ones.
Would you like to
Like,
know how they did that? Because they did do that. Would you like to know how? Like a very
go on.
specific example how? One of
Mm,
the biggest issues that nostalgia connoisseurs have, and we've talked about
mm,
this before with Star Trek, is
mm-hmm,
uh, uh, television shows or movies placed in the past to already established iterations of the story tend to, because new technology, tend to make it look like there's better tech in the past than there was in the future. So in this case,
yeah.
episodes 1, 2, and 3 versus episodes 4, 5, and 6. All that quite literally is just limitations of current technology when the movie's being
Mm-hmm,
made.
yep.
But they actually paid attention to that and this is very nerdy, and I'm sorry, but if you actually take a look at the majority of the starships, you
Yep.
take a look at all the doodads that
Yep.
come off of them.
They are still like fucking a siphon, or like shit that would have been used
If you
from
if
back
you
when.
well, if you compare ships and all the different arrays and antennas that they have,
Mm-hmm,
if you compare similar ships just, a generation or two down the line to the older
mm-hmm,
Star Wars shows, the older Star Wars movies, 4, 5, and 6, you'll actually see less arrays and antennas in 4, 5, or 6 than you would in 1, 2, or 3 because technology progressed. So some of those antennas
mm-hmm.
were converted or pressed into
Right.
one. So in 1, 2, and 3, you'd see a ship with 14 antennas and 3 dishes. If you see the next generation of that ship in 4, 5, and 6, older movies, there's only
Mm-hmm.
4 antennas and 1 dish. That's because they
Yep.
figured out how to compress
Well,
the
and it's
technology.
also maintaining the continuity
Yes.
for, I mean, just in itself, right? Maintaining the
Mm-hmm.
continuity. But another example is the use of the holograms.
Mm-hmm.
Holograms look like shit because it was 1970s, early 1980s technology. They made them look like shit throughout the entire 1, 2, 3, and then in 7, 8, 9, they're starting to get better.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know, that belief
But
that,
see,
like,
that's for the older generation that got used to
yeah,
or was there as a kid or a young teenager during 4, 5, and 6.
yeah,
Like if you're gonna watch 1, 2, and 3, the directors know you're gonna watch with eagle eyes and you're gonna pick everything apart. Well, why is this? It wasn't like that in 4, 5, and 6. No, it wasn't. This is supposed to be older. So you're gonna see
yeah,
shittier versions of something because it can't be better than it was over there. It's gonna look better, sure. Better
yeah.
technology. But it's again, as far as like Rocky
Because
or
people are
Creed,
gonna poop on shit.
it's
So
they're
yeah,
gonna shit on everything. So I guess I agree with you on your original stance that this is a really good idea. Like to take this back to Gears of War, this is a
yeah,
good idea. I think it's a good idea if they tell the right story. If they tell the story that
hmm,
every player has already done, they've already lost at least a third of their viewer base. because nobody's going to want
Mhm.
to see the same story. Or if they do, they're just going to shit all over it with receipts,
Yeah.
right? So they need to tell a slightly different story, or fuck it, tell a brand new story. Just
Mhm.
just reboot the whole story and just tell it under a different medium. MCU the shit out of it. Okay.
Well, that's arguably with what like Kenobi and Andor
Mm-hmm.
and all these other shows
Mm-hmm.
are for, right? We have the
Well, it helps that Disney took over and decanonized
Legends.
like
Yeah.
90% of what was already created, so they
Yeah.
can make their own stories now. But yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, the which I mean all the shows except for Andor has been shitted on so hard, and it ends up being one of those like, okay, well, like it's exhausting to have to shit on everything, and
You would
I'm just
think.
not a fan of that
You would think.
mentality. Yeah, and sometimes it is fucking groupthink. Just wanting to be edgy and like like just the almost immature teenage way of like everything sucks. Everything sucks. Like
Not even I do that, and I'm one of the
does
more
it
negative people. Yeah.
well does it actually freaking hurt you if if you're if you're able to like something? Like I don't know.
That's
I
always
don't
been my argument against people that actively shit on Nickelback.
so
Like,
I'm in between
are you doing it
because
because you don't like the music? Are you doing it because you don't like the artist? Or are you doing it because
like
it's funny?
we I think most of us remember jamming out to it.
Silver Side Up was a really good album.
And then I think it just ended up being a lack of artist evolution
Yes, yeah,
that led
I can respect that.
to at least for me, where it's like, okay, I'm literally listening now to track 24 through 36 of the first album. Like it's
Mm-hmm.
not
Mm-hmm.
it's just like, hey, CDs can only have 70 minutes of music, so let's just eh, eh, eh.
Dude, nobody's gonna want to hear
Which
this, but Nine Inch Nails
but
fell into the same trap.
yeah,
Tool fell into the same trap, which is
Smashing
why they
Pumpkins,
Smashing Pumpkins.
like there's so many that they try to capture the gold that was their
Mm-hmm.
first album, and it's like, all right, dude, like, yeah, got it. This is what made you famous.
Mm-hmm.
What else you got in there? Which a little so I'm a big fan, and turns out that I didn't know. So quick thing, when I was gonna get
A
my
lot of thought
first
processes just happened
yes,
there.
yes, yes, when I was gonna get my first car, I wanted to get a Scion TC.
Okay.
We were gonna come back from Afghanistan, and I was like, I'm buying myself a car. What are you getting, AP? I'm gonna get a Scion TC. That's a chick's car. I'm like,
Okay.
okay,
Guess I'm a chick now.
what? I guess. Well, and then when we went to the dealership, they didn't have the like maroon color that I wanted. So everybody was like, go get a Honda Civic. And I got a Honda Civic and ended up getting a red Honda Civic that I actually liked. Um, but shit, I lost my original train of thought.
Oh no.
Oh, poop.
I know how that feels. I'm right there with
Yeah.
you. Yeah.
So it's oh, people just like to shit on people or
Yeah.
shit on things. So when the first album came out, I was in high school. I loved The Killers.
Okay.
People were like, "Oh, that's such a like oh hip hoppy whatever," and then I was like, "No, it just I like their jams, bruh. I like them. I dig them." So then they themselves were like, "We're gonna do something completely different." And then the second album was like, "What the fuck is this? What is this?" And then the third album was like, "Okay, we're gonna go halfsies. We're gonna go half the OG style, half the we're trying to test things out. And I appreciated that so
Mm-hmm.
much that there were still some of the nostalgia, but new shit, which that's fucking Star Wars. That's video game turning into movie. It's some of the same shit, but new shit that it's so I any extreme to me is just too much. Too
I
fucking
can see
much.
that. Yeah.
Like just,
How did you feel about Linkin Park then?
when they went like ska reggae band,
I mean, every album seemed to kind of jump
right?
genres a little bit. Yeah.
So what was the first one called?
Something
Fuck.
theory,
Yeah, Hybrid Theory.
hybrid theory. There you
Um, so obviously Hybrid Theory is fucking fantastic,
go. Mm.
and the fact that Chester was still singing like 2 3 of the songs in current um like the latest tour, there has to be an appreciation for the songs that got you to where you're at.
Right.
But then there were some good ones that came after. Hold on, let me look it up. Like there is one song that is, it's new, but it has the same vibe as their old stuff. Hold on, where is it? Um so One More Light. Have you heard that song?
I have not.
So it's a very like pull out your lighter, the concert is about to end and you're fucking
Yeah.
shh. And it's oh, I'm actually getting emotional. So the the crazy thing about this song is that it's about suicide. And it's yeah.
Okay.
So
That's
the
kind of it's kind of difficult. Yeah.
yeah, and it's, this was 2017. So right before. Um and it has the same like um emotional vibe as I would say maybe In the End, of like you can hear him singing from deep inside of himself,
Mm-hmm.
even if the music is jamming, it's still very almost angelic. Well, full angelic even for the music for One More Light. Um and that mix to me was like lean in hard, but the rest of the album for One More Light is smorgasbord of fucking everything. Like it is, when they were doing ska rap, whatever the fuck they wanted to call it,
Mm-hmm.
when they were doing reggae, it's got some hybrid theory style of like fucking heaviness, and then little extreme of this, little extreme of that, little mix. So yeah, no, their music didn't try to cater to everybody. As an album, it was by stages with the music, with each track,
So
which
they made the nostalgia, the ones that wanted nostalgia go through the
yep.
album and experience, what they're trying, some new version of something they're trying to do. And oh, here's your
Mm,
nostalgia. Okay, thank you for hanging around. Now let's listen to a few new songs. Here's some nostalgia. A few new songs. Here's nostalgia, and so on. It's
yep.
so that's why I asked your opinion on Linkin Park, because I look at them as a band that managed to keep a hold of a lot of original listeners from like Hybrid Theory while still allowing themselves the ability to kind of sway back and forth in exactly what genre of music they really reside in.
Mm,
Even though the majority of the time their music was, played on rock stations or all rock
yeah.
stations. That same thought process, that's what I want applied to these studios that want to grab a video game or that want to take an established movie series and move it a different direction. Do your thing, just don't forget what got you there, right? So tell this new story, like with Fallout, tell a new story, new vault. I want to know what the vault's about. I want to know what Vault Tech did to you guys in that vault. Like, tell me a new story, but just
Yeah.
remember that you're pulling from an IP with a player base that is not okay in the head. First off, they will tear your shit apart. They will. This
Mhm.
isn't how this works. This isn't how this works. I'm not going to look at the I'm not going to line item every damn thing in each episode. I'm going to look at the intent of the episode. Are you trying to tell me a story while allowing me to appreciate things I remember from the games or from the lore itself? Great. Then you are doing it correctly. I just want Gears of War to do the same thing because this was Gears of War was a liftoff point for Xbox. Like
Mm.
it helped keep that and Halo. It helped keep Xbox up
Yeah.
just high enough to
Yeah.
warrant a new Xbox, to warrant a new line of games, to warrant a new Xbox.
Mhm.
Like, and they knew that. They knew that,
Well,
which is why,
I mean, it's like what I was saying about fucking Lucas, like dabbing his
yeah.
tears with money as he cries about how Filoni took care of Clone Wars. It's like, dude, I will say, however, did you ever watch? Have you watched Filoni's Clone Wars?
I have not. I have watched very little Clone Wars.
Did you ever watch Lucas's Clone Wars?
I may actually have, because I
It was on
have,
on it was on Cartoon Network,
yeah.
and it was very anime almost
I've
instead of
definitely,
CGI.
I've definitely seen it. I
Okay,
don't think I could tell you much about what I
it's
watched.
fine.
Yeah.
It's fine. It's
Sorry.
fine.
I'm sorry. I'm
It
sorry.
used to be canon, and it explains some things as to like why Grievous has a
As a
fucking
robot,
heavy. Well, no, he is a cyborg. He's half organic.
never really explained when he's introduced
No,
to
because
the
he was
layman.
introduced in the right in the
To
Cartoon
well,
Network's
that's what I would
Cartoon
say to the
Network's
layman
Clone
that would
Wars.
see him in the movie
Um,
theaters. That was their first iteration. But go ahead.
right. Uh, but dude, it was. I understand why Lucas is doing this because it was so different. Dude, we saw Mace Windu crush the chest cavity of Grievous. That's why he has a cough. Because Grievous throughout episode 3 has broken ribs. So that's why he's trying not to breathe too much because it hurts him. But we lost that dark part of Star Wars
Mm-hmm.
that Lucas threw into the into this cartoon. Um, yeah, I just put it out into the ether. Like fuck it, you know. Very rarely is there anything that is unanimously loved.
Yeah.
Cory Barlog, congratulations on God of War Ragnarok. Thank you again.
And
I
Stargate,
appreciate you.
two
But
huge franchises. Because he's Teal'c, is he not?
oh no, I was talking about the head director, but yes, you're
Oh,
talking about the actor.
yeah.
Yeah, Christopher Judge
Because
is the
that's
actor.
because you got to remember
Yes.
that's the to the layman that's the connective tissue. To
Yes.
somebody like
Right.
you, it's the director because you're a nerd.
Yeah.
But most other nerds just look surface level.
Well, the acting was Christopher Judge, and
Yeah,
boy, yeah, that is Teal'c.
yeah.
Uh,
That was
uh,
the very first thing that I
the
said
fuckery.
out loud. I was like,
Yes.
Where is it?
But
Where is it? I almost see it a little bit. It's
yeah,
right next to the white ashy skin. I I
if you
I
look hard enough, it's there.
dude, if they
He
did
has he has a scar right there in the shape of
if they did,
Anubis.
I would shit if Ragnarok had a just like a just like a trans warp like scene real quick, like transitioning to a different realm or something, and you just saw like a half frame
Like,
of
yeah,
like
of just
of just completely God of like it's Kratos, but just the Jaffa like
mhm,
golden emblem right there. Oh my
yep.
God, I'd be like, oh, they did it, they did it, they respected his background.
That is the symbol of a Jaffa Prime because it is gold and not tattooed. For anybody
It's
that
hot.
didn't know,
It's hot.
it's hot.
It's
It's
hot.
hot.
I want Gears of War to do well. I want Creed 3 to do well. And not because
Yeah.
I respect the lore or I like how, they like with Gears, first off, there's a lot of conjecture by us right now as far as whether Gears would be
Mhm.
good or not because they have done literally nothing with it. No directors, no
Yeah,
I think no
there's
script, no
nothing
nothing.
linked to it, right? It's
Yeah.
just they bought the rights,
Yeah.
basically.
And
And I don't think we added, or maybe you just did. Netflix is
I
who is
didn't.
carrying this on.
Yeah, Netflix got it.
So
So take that for what it is.
I'm gonna throw this out.
Hmm,
Another hot take for the day.
hmm,
Netflix has actually done well with because we have Witcher, right?
hmm.
Video game adaptation. Obviously, it's a book, video game, and now a series, and the series is more based on the book. However, would people even have given a shit about it had it not been for
Been
the
for the
video game?
game.
Okay,
Yeah, yeah.
anyway,
Right, right. Edge runners.
Edge Runners, Morpheus, or what do we call it in fucking uh, what's it called? Is it Morpheus? No, Sandman. Sandman.
Hmm,
That's what we
yeah.
call it.
All the
Um,
MCU, with the exception of what's his name, Black Lightning.
oh no, DCU.
These okay. Well, no, I was thinking more because
Arrowverse. You're talking about Arrowverse,
that's
but they're
CW. I was thinking
that's CW.
Like Daredevil.
Oh, right. So the original, yeah, the
Yeah,
original four. It
yeah,
was
yeah.
Daredevil, Punisher, Jessica Jones, and fucking
The guy with
pissy pants.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah, yeah.
Um, yeah. Sorry, we're not even gonna look up because you know what you did. So, um, yeah, no, they've done well with adaptations, and um, whereas other studios have had their missteps, Paramount Plus, fucking Amazon, HBO, um, Netflix has had a consistency that I would say maybe like 85 plus. They've been good. Um,
I could
where
probably agree with that. Yeah, yeah,
and it's because they've taken the risk, right? We've
yeah.
discussed this before, where Netflix will just pump shit out
Yep.
because they know that they can cancel
Throw it against the
the
wall, see what sticks. Yeah.
yeah. Well, and even if it does stick, go
Still
fuck
gonna
yourself,
pull it
guys.
anyway. Yeah.
Mindhunter, no season 3. We don't get to see BTK. The OA, nope. Like there's so many shows, fucking Netflix, which that brings the question: how many seasons will this be? Just one and done, two and done, and that's it. We don't want to fucking deal with it. You guys, you suck. All you fuckers ruin
Um.
this for everyone.
So here's the other issue, right?
Uh,
Gears of War is a total man meat fest.
oh yeah,
Oh
it's
yeah,
gonna
with
have to
with
be a
with
rated R.
Gears 5. No, I mean in the just a bunch of testosterone filled men with
Oh
biceps
yeah,
the size of our entire bodies with
right.
chainsaw gun. Like it is the Expendables in video game form.
Mm,
Okay. So and this is why I kept pushing, tell a different story. Okay.
yeah.
We've that kind of story, just filled with massive man meat, I'm going to keep saying that,
Mhm.
just isn't
Thank
going
you.
to work. It's just not. That worked in '06.
Yeah.
That worked in '07. That worked in 10, sure.
What I'm imagining is more realism in the way of like Reach, where the team was all different shapes and sizes, right? And even though they were all Spartans, they were still very much different sizes.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them got extra juice in the
Mm-hmm.
bat, and some did not. Read the book; you guys would appreciate it.
It's a good book.
It tells a story on that.
You're talking about
Um,
Fall of Reach, right?
yeah,
Yeah, that's a good book.
it tells a story as to how, like some had Mjolnir 2, some had Mjolnir 1, and he's gone. Okay, all right, he's gonna show us the book. So excited.
I'm so glad that I collected collector's editions years ago when they were,
Yeah,
affordable and available and so on.
sure, sure,
So
sure. Show the class.
this is okay. It's
Yeah.
reversed, but it's the collector's edition of Halo Reach,
Hmm.
and in it, this was I nerded out at this just strictly
Yep.
because of what my job was back when I bought
Yep.
this.
Yep.
But it is a classified. Uh, it's
Oh,
reversed, but it is a classified document holder, and it's what's her name's journal that started the
yep.
entire program. This
Yeah,
was
Dr. Elizabeth something, right?
uh, Halsey,
Right?
Catherine Halsey.
Catherine. Yep.
Yeah,
Catherine. Yep.
yeah. This was one of the most, like, after reading this and then reading Fall of Reach, I was like, they actually gave a shit about their own lore.
Yeah.
They actually paid
Well, I
attention to the
mean, yeah, of
nuances,
course they did.
to just everything from personal interactions, like, and then actually hearing her talk to the Spartans and hearing the
Hmm.
Spartans just like with that anger, biting at every word, but still that begrudging respect of what amounts to their
Yeah.
mother.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
like,
Because
and
it,
then
it was very, very like, fuck you, but yeah, Roger that.
yeah, but then reading her
which
journal,
which I think it hits harder as prior enlisted. It hits so much
it
harder.
does,
Where like, go fuck yourself, sir. Roger. I'll take
Roger,
care of it.
Roger. But it's like then you read her journal, right? Or you read the books with
Yeah.
her in the earlier years, and you see the torment that she's going through, putting these kids through something, knowing that she needs to. Very, very
Yeah.
Ender's Game style
Yeah.
writing, where the adults have
Hmm.
to put these kids through this, or everybody dies, right?
Yeah.
But then you see the transition of caring, caring, caring to I no longer give a shit. Not only is this needed, but it needs to be perfected. So I need to remove that aspect of my humanity where I cared.
Hmm.
And it just like seeing that transition that's good storytelling. And they presented that well in the different mediums, in the books, in the
Hmm.
cutscenes, and so on. That type of storytelling, I think, is what's missing from the the television series going on. Is that ability to tell a nuanced story while still holding true to what made Halo cool.
Mm.
And that's what I'm worried about with Gears of War. Is what made Gears of War cool isn't as it's easily transcribed to television because it's just a bunch of violence and grunting and testosterone and chainsaw
Yeah.
guns, right? You can easily do that. Every scene is a fighting scene. Done. You've transcribed Gears of War to whatever. But there's other aspects of the games. There's nuances to the storytelling. There's reasons why people are there that aren't necessarily fleshed out in the game because that would make for boring gameplay at that time anyway.
Hmm.
That they could very easily go through and actually tell those stories. And I'm just worried that it's going to turn into a Halo, or it's going to turn into fucking Super Mario Brothers, where you pull the wrong aspects of the story or you convert it in the wrong way so that it's recognizable because it's got the characters have the same names that you're used to in a video game.
Yeah.
But there's nothing relatable there. That's what I'm worried about. That's what I'm worried about and I'm worried about that with Fallout. I would be worried about that with like Creed 3, especially after Stallone's remarks, but I never watched any of the Creed movies. So
I haven't yet, but now that we're going on to 3, I kind of want to.
yeah, I
Because
still don't know if I
it's,
want to because, but like I know it's more than just boxing, but it is,
yeah,
boxing is the vehicle that tells the story.
yeah.
I don't know if that's my thing. No disrespect to Michael B. Jordan or to
You want to get
Stallone.
your ass kicked, bro?
Maybe I don't know.
I guess.
Maybe
That,
if
is
they
that
want to
your
hang,
kink?
if they want to hang out a little bit, I don't know.
Okay. All
That
right.
might be cool.
Okay. That'd be cool.
Would you
All right.
not? Would you not allow your ass to get kicked by Stallone if he then would hang out at a bar with you for hours later? I'd take a punch.
So that implies that I wouldn't get knocked out, right?
Well, you'd get
Which would,
resuscitated, and he'd be like, "All right, let's go hang out at the bar and tell stories and
hey,
stuff."
bro.
Oh, let's go
We're just
down
trying
and
to,
sit in
just trying to
front.
go
I'm assuming you
to.
just said that after you knock my teeth out, we can go to a bar and
Right.
tell stories. That's what you said. We're doing that.
Yeah. I would probably take him up on that. Yeah. Yeah.
I'd get punched in the mouth for that.
And
Yeah.
then be like, yo, what's up?
Well then I would be.
Where's Arnold? Right?
I would
Where's
be
Arnold?
talking like because after
Right,
the punch,
and then
yeah.
now you know what CTE is like. Yeah. So, all right. On that note, thanks for hanging, dude.
Yeah, I appreciate you, brother.
Translation down below. Like, subscribe, socials, the whole shebang. Love you. Take care of yourself so you can take care of others.
Okay,
Later, dudes.
bye.
Bye.